Hello guys, my name is Christian. I work here at AccuRanker as a Customer Success Manager, and today I'll be giving you a tour of our tool. So this video is primarily targeted towards new trial customers, beginners, people who are just learning our system. So we'll be going through the setup process and what the best practices are, making sure that you understand all the data that we provide for you as well. If you are someone who already uses the system but feels like you can get more out of it, I think you'll probably get some value out of this video as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll be putting timestamps down below, so you can jump straight on to say the thing that you feel like you can learn some more about. With that being said, let's jump straight into it. So the first thing that you're going to see is the dashboard when you start to log in. First time logging in, you'll be prompted to make your own domain, and you can do so by clicking here on the orange button, Add Domain. This is pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, filling in the domain name, what you want the domain to be named. Say for example, if it's for a specific country. Google business name helps as well in order to identify local results. So definitely put that in. And there's some other small details here as well. So when you made your first domain, you'll have an orange button here that says Add Keywords. So I've already set up this domain, and so hence I don't have this button. But going in through the various options that there are for adding keywords, first and foremost, you can manually insert all your keywords yourself. You can also copy paste them right in here. You also have the option to connect to your Google Search Console account and import your keywords from there, which is what I will pretty much recommend everyone starting out to do, because obviously manually typing in all your keywords, if that's the alternative, is a very slow process and just generally really annoying. And getting connected to Google Search Console will give you some relevant keywords to at least start out with. Going through the rest of the options here, so you have the search locale, which would be the country and or the language. You have the location, in case local SEO is something that is important for you, so you can put in say a region, a city, maybe even a specific address if that's what you want to track for. Can add more locations here as such. And then there's the search settings. So by default here you can see that it is checkmarked for Google on desktop. You can also track for Google and Bing on desktop and mobile. Just beware that for each of these that you checkmark, your keywords will then count as one extra. So say for example that you want to track for Google desktop and mobile. Well, every single keyword that you put into the system will then be doubled, because we're going to track them for desktop and mobile, obviously. I recommend that you look into Google Analytics, see where you get most of your traffic from, also see how your conversion rates are on various device types, and from there you can decide on what you want to do. I recommend having both on, as that gives the best overall perspective. So underneath we have tags, and tags are basically a way to categorize your keywords. I won't go too much in depth about it right now, because when you add your keywords you have the option to add tags to them later on. So this is not something that you have to think about immediately. Same thing for advanced settings, by the way. So you have the option to ignore local results, which would be the local Google Maps snippets that pop up from time to time. These do count as rankings as default, and here you have the option to ignore it. Same thing with featured snippets. Can also ignore here if you want to do that. And then there's the option to star mark keywords. So this is something that I will elaborate later on. Again, this is also something that you can add to your keywords once they've or after you've added them. So it's not something that you necessarily have to think about immediately. All right. So jumping back to the overview over here for the dashboard. Here you'll be able to see how many all your domains, the most some at a glance data as well. So you have the amount of keywords that each domain occupies, the average ranking, how that average ranking has changed, share of voice. So share of voice is basically an indicator of how your most important keywords are performing. And the way that we calculate share of voice is by first and foremost taking the click-through rate, generic click-through rate for your ranking, and then multiply that with the monthly search volume. So to give you a basic example of how this works, let's say that you are ranked number 1 for a keyword that has a search volume of 1,000. Well, in that instance, we would roughly estimate that you would get about 30% click-through rate, meaning you'll get 30% of the traffic. So 30% of 1,000, that would give you a share of voice score of 300. So the share of voice that you see here is for the total amount in the domain overall. Obviously, when you look at a domain like Amazon, you would think, oh, well, the share of voice should be a lot more than this. That is very true, but we've only put in 921 keywords for them. So that's also another thing to be aware of, is that we only look at the keywords that you put into the system. All right, ranking distribution. So ranking distribution is where we take all the rankings and put them into 6 separate groups. So we have a group. The first group is the group for rankings 1 to 3, and then we also have a group for 4 to 10. This goes all the way down to unranked, and you'll see the darker shade of blue it is. The higher the ranking group, higher the ranking segment is. So pretty easy to understand. Obviously, if I hover my mouse over here, I can see that 715 of my keywords are in top 3. And what I can do with this is clicking on the segment as such, and I'll jump straight into the keywords list with all the keywords that I have in top 3. This is something that is more relevant in terms of our filtering system. You can, for example, see here that we have a filter here that shows rankings from 1 to 3, also up here. I'll elaborate on this later on, but yeah, that would be how that works. We also have notifications here on the far right side. So notifications I'll also elaborate on later, but do know that this is the amount of notifications that you have for each domain. All right, jumping straight into the overview list. So here in the overview list, you have various options to begin with. First and foremost is these options to connect to Google Analytics and to connect to Google Search Console. So it's a process that's as simple as just logging into your Google account, giving us the right permissions and such, and basically it will go from there. Like I said before, Google Search Console is very handy in terms of important keywords. Google Analytics helps us provide extra data for you, so it definitely gives the most optimal experience. However, I don't really see it as something that is required in order to use AccuRanker. So the first thing that you'll see when you jump into the overview list is a share of voice graph. And as you can see, we're also showing 2 graphs by default, and that's because in this instance we're tracking for desktop and for mobile. You can filter them on or off like so if that's what you want to do. And assuming that you have added any key competitors into the system, you'll be able to click on them like so, and you'll be able to compare your share of voice with theirs. So in my opinion, this is where share of voice becomes very, very valuable, because here you can compare your overall share of voice, your visibility to your competitors on the organic front, and it will be very relevant information, as we're only looking at the keywords that you put into the system. Also worth noting here is that we obviously show what the share of voice is for desktop and for mobile. The dates that we're comparing to are by default with yesterday, like so. My default is for 1 month ago, and you can change this by going into your profile over here and select a different default compared to parameter. So just a second. So scrolling down, we'll also show you pie charts for your share for your competitors in terms of share of voice. We'll also show you the untracked share of voice across all your keywords, and along with that, we'll also show you share of voice for your tags. Tags, as you may remember, is something that we talked about when adding keywords. And as mentioned before, is something that that is used to categorize keywords. So that would, for example, be a certain product group or a certain service that a bunch of keywords could be categorized into. Share of voice for landing pages. So other than looking at the ranking that you have on the search engines, we also look at what landing page the search engines are pointing towards, and from there we can also assign a share of voice value to your landing pages as well. We have a dedicated page about landing pages actually, which I'll show you later on. So scrolling down to top competitors. So top competitors is completely separate from the competitors that you add into the system. It is something that is calculated automatically by us. And the way that we calculate top competitors is by first and foremost taking all your keywords and figuring out which domains are in the top 10 positions. From there on out, we'll give these top 10 domains a certain weight to them. So say for example that you have a domain that is ranked number 10. Well, that domain would then get a weight of 10, of 1, and it would increase all the way to ranking 1, which would give a weight of 10. So you can see here which domains have the most weight overall, meaning this is an indicator of who is the most visible on the top 10 rankings in the keywords that you've put into the system. So you can obviously see your own domain here, but you can also check mark some of the domains over here, and what you'll get is this graph. So in the x-axis we have the rankings, and in the y-axis we have the amount of keywords. So if I hover the mouse here over ranking number 1, we can for example see that in this instance I have 552 keywords that are ranked number 1, and I can see that the competitors that I have chosen here have respectively 52, 31 and 10. So bit fun to dig into, definitely, and it gives you an idea of how the organic market looks overall and who your competitors actually are on the organic front. Obviously some of these will be more relevant than others, but regardless, they're in the top rankings for the organic part, so there's someone that you're competing with, technically speaking. Going down to ranking distribution. So ranking distribution is similar to how we talked about before in the dashboard overview. only that this time it is shown across 4 different dates, so you can compare. And yeah, obviously you can filter some of them on or off depending on how you want the view to look. And then there's winners and losers over here. So winners and losers, very simple, shows you how many keywords have moved up in ranking, how many have moved down in ranking, and also how much your share of voice has increased and decreased as a result of those changes. Average ranking is as described before. I mean, we take all of your rankings and give you and calculate the average from there, and you'll be able to see the graph here. So, as you may remember from the dashboard as well, we had this thing in the far right side where we could see the amount of notifications that we had. So the notifications that you receive, you'll be able to see over here. So what are notifications? Notifications are based upon the idea that some keywords are more important for you to track for than others, and if any significant changes happen to these keywords, you would want to know as soon as possible. So not only do you get notifications for positive changes, you also get notifications for negative changes. And you'll be able to see what changes are happening here. So you have the domain name here, the keyword, the new ranking, the change, and when it actually happened. The way that you tell us which keywords do you show your notifications for is by jumping into the keywords list, like so, and simply star marking the keywords here. And yeah. Whenever a significant change happens to these keywords, you'll be notified, or you'll be able to see it in the notifications section. So we're already at the keywords list, and this is probably where most of the meat is, so to speak. The first thing that I want to show you guys here is the filtering system, because it helps you a lot in order to organize your data. So filtering is done by the top of each of the columns that you have here. So you have the keyword column here, you have the ranking column here, the URL column, searches, and so on. And underneath these, you have the filtering options for each of these columns. So keyword, here that you can search for your keywords. So if I, for example, put in insert 10, it will show me all keywords that contain the word 10. I can change that here so that it would be it would have to be the word 10, or I can also set it so that all keywords with the word 10 don't show in the keywords list. So there's definitely some options here. Can also filter for star mark keywords if that's what you want to do. You have the option to filter for desktop and mobile keywords, search engines, rankings. So let's say I want to see top 10 rankings. Well, I would do it as such. Obviously there's different options here for how you want to filter for them. You can also organize your rankings by moved up or moved down. URLs, search volume is also something that you can filter for. So say for example I want to see the amount of keywords I have that are ranked 10 and above. I also want to see which of these keywords have a search volume above 1000. So let's give that a try. And here I'll have the list as such. So this can be a great way to do some keyword analysis, figuring out which keyword you might want to work on in the future. And yeah, as you'll see here in the top left corner, we have it shows all the filters that are currently active, and you have the option to save them as segments here, so that you can deploy. So if you have a bunch of filters that you feel like you'll need a lot, you can deploy them immediately by saving them as a segment. You can also reset all your filters by clicking here. Also worth taking into consideration, the filters that you have active here in the keyword list will go again. It will also be applied when you jump into the overview. So right now the overview will only show me data for these two filters. Alright. Regarding these columns, you have the option to customize them. So yeah, so say for example that you want your location to, you want a column for your locations as well. You want a column for click price per click on AdWords, another kind of data. You'll be able to insert that here. And yeah, so I've been mentioning tags a few times already, and you might be a bit curious to know how you set it up. So as you may have noticed, we have the keywords here, and underneath these keywords we have some tags for them. So you can see all the tags that are currently active. If I want to add a tag to a keyword, I simply mark them here on the left hand side. Click Edit Keywords, Add Tags, and then I would simply insert the tag. So these keywords don't really have anything in common, so I'm just gonna say this as an example. Yeah, and here you can add as many tags as you want. Click Add Tags, and then they would apply, and you would be able to see them over here. If you want to filter for tags, you can do so by clicking on this icon over here and then simply selecting the tag, and you'll have it shown as you want. So you also have the option to only show keywords that have the tag assigned to them. You'll also be able to show all keywords that do not have the tag assigned to them by selecting none. Yeah. The next thing that I want to show you is in regards to the keyword history. So clicking on a keyword will bring forward the history as such. So here you'll have a graph over the over the overall history, and you'll also I'll be able to see date, ranking, URL, and SERP. SERP and SERP page. In the graph here, you'll be able to click on your competitors to see how they've ranked for that keyword compared to you. So you might be questioning about these two columns here. So SERP is basically all the features that are in the search engine result page itself. It's not necessarily related to your ranking. Meaning that, for example, if I hover my mouse over one of these icons, I can see that for this keyword there is Google Shopping, there is an image pack, there are reviews, news, these sorts of features. If you see some of these icons and you don't know what the definition is, you have the option to click on them like so, and yeah, you'll have them shown as such. Yeah, and in regards to this SERP column, you also have it shown over here. So, and yeah, obviously there's also the respective filtering options here. So the next thing that I want to show you guys is the URL column over here. Obviously you can see which URL or landing page Google is pointing towards in regards to these keywords. Hovering your mouse over this icon will show you the title tag and the meta description. And then you may notice that, well, in this instance we have a bunch of red and green dots here, but if you've just put your keywords into the system, they'll be yellow. What these yellow dots represent is a feature that we have that we call preferred URLs. So say for example that Google is pointing towards the wrong landing page in regards to a keyword. That is not something that is unusual, to put it that way. What you'll be able to do is to click on the yellow dot over here, and you can then insert the preferred URL here, then click Save, and depending on where, so if the preferred URL is the same as the one that Google is pointing towards, you'll get a green dot like this. If you get a red dot, it means that the preferred URL that you have set for the keyword is not the one that Google is pointing towards. So very simple to understand and very simple to set up. And as with everything AccuRanker, you have the option to filter for correct and incorrect URLs over here. So very handy way to monitor this kind of stuff. And my recommendation is always look through the keywords, look through the landing pages. If you see that it's the wrong landing page that it's pointing towards, just set the preferred URL up. You don't need to do it for every single keyword. That would be take an awful lot of time. But yeah. So last thing that I want to show you is in regards to how often we refresh your keywords. You'll be able to see here time ago when we last updated your keywords. Regardless of what subscription that you have, we always update your keywords once every 24 hours. You also have the option to click on this button over here to manually refresh all your keywords. This is something that would be very handy in terms, if you see that you log into your account, you can see that maybe it's 20 hours ago your keywords were last updated. Well, in that instance, you would just click on this button and you would get fresh data right away. All right, so jumping into the competitors tab over here. So the competitor section over here shows you the most generic data about your competitors, but most importantly, this is where you would add and delete competitors. You can add competitors by clicking here on Add Competitors, and you can also delete them here on the far right side where you have a list of your competitors. So you have a list here of your competitors, and what you'll be able to see is the most generic data as you saw before in the overview. You can see here the share of voice for yourself and your competitors. You can see your winners and losers, and you'll be able to see the ranking distribution over here. So yeah, as you might be able to remember, we have 1 to 3, 4 to 10, all the way down to unranked over here. You'll also be able to for example, compare share of voice here, like before, marking competitors, and the data will show as such. Just needs a bit of time to think. Going into the competitor ranks. So competitor rankings are very self-explanatory. Here you'll have a list of your keywords, how you're ranked for them. Clicking here on table settings, I don't know why they are disabled. They should be enabled for you by default. But yeah, clicking update over here, you'll be able to see your competitors' domains here and their rankings on each specific keyword. You can also filter for rankings here and filter for keywords. Landing pages. So what you're gonna see once it is that landing pages very much requires Google Analytics, because it combines data from AccuRanker, like so, with data from Google Analytics. So here you can see each URL. You can see the amount of keywords in AccuRanker that point towards each URL, the combined search volume for these keywords, the share of voice, the total cost value in price per click, and then you would be able to compare it to Google Analytics data over here. So you would have organic visitors, you would have average time spent, bounce rate, goals, all this kind of stuff in this view over here. And it's something that is a lot of fun to play around with. Assuming that you have a Google Analytics in your AccuRanker account, and that you also have a sufficient amount of keywords to have a lot of data shown here. Going into to Tag Cloud. So Tag Cloud is basically like landing pages that we saw earlier, only for tags. So this would require you to make use of our tagging system, obviously. And what you'll be able to see here is a list of or a view of all of your tags, the amount of keywords that have these tags attached to them, and yeah, from there on out it's combined search volume, the share of voice, the cost value, and assuming that you also have a Google Analytics, we'll combine Google Analytics data with that as well. You also can mark each of the tags over here to see their development over time. So in this instance, we're seeing the share of voice development for this tag over time, and yeah, not a whole lot to add here. But if you're one who makes a lot of use of our tagging system, you're really going to appreciate what you're be able to see here. So the last thing that I'm going to be talking about in this tour is in regards to reports. If reports isn't something that is important for you, or not something that you don't think you'll be making use of, feel free to end the video here. For those who are gonna use our reporting system, you're gonna want to follow along here. So jumping into the keywords list, you have the option to instantly download reports. You have various different reports types to choose from, so PDF, Excel, CSV, Google Sheets, templates. So this I'll show you later on, but templates are only for PDF reports, where you can choose different elements and choose the general setup of your report. Obviously there's also language and email too, and other than that you can just click download here and it will download the report for you. Something to take note of is that we look at any filters that you may have active here. Say for example that you have a ranking filter active, say for example that you're comparing to yesterday. Well, as it is shown here in the keywords list, that's how the report will also be downloaded. So if I go and download a report right now, it will automatically have this compared to date. It will automatically also have this filter added to it. So fairly straightforward. If you're an SEO agency, you'll probably want to know about how to schedule these reports, so you don't have to download them every time you have to send them out to your clients. And going into the reporting tab here on the left hand side, you have the option to add scheduled reports. So what you would ideally do is just click on new scheduled report, and you'll be able to select domain, one of your domains here, the report type, language, template. Again, I'll elaborate on this later on. Schedule. So yeah, if you for example choose monthly, you can choose which time of the day you want it to send out, which email you want it reported to, which email you want it reported from, the email subject, and the email body here. Say for example that you also want to add filters to these scheduled reports. You will be able to do it here as well. One thing where I see this becoming very handy is, say that for example you have 2,000 keywords for a huge client. Well, you'd probably want to do something along the lines of star marking a set amount of keywords and using those star marked keywords in the reporting here, so that everything is organized neatly and doesn't look cluttered at all. Alright, so jumping into report templates, as I mentioned before, these are exclusively for PDF reports. And jumping into the tab over here, you can see that we have these 4 templates by default, and you can see here which elements they contain. We also have these templates over here that we've made. You can click on a new template to make a new one, so you'll be able to have a name here, a brand color, and you'll be able to select which elements that you want in the report. So for example, you would choose a headline. You would want to show your logo. By the way, showing your logo is, you would insert your logo here by clicking on account logo, inserting the picture here, and it will automatically be in the reports. Good details to get off the way. So yeah, for example, a header, you would want a headline. You can choose what the headline should say. You can have a ranking distribution chart, share voice chart, pretty much whatever you want you can have here. Also worth noting is for a keywords list, you have all these different customizable options on what you want the keywords list to show, how you want the keywords list to be ordered, all this kind of stuff. I would recommend that you play around with it and find a template that suits you very well, and from there on out you can pretty much just apply it to anyone, depending on what your needs would be. But yeah, you would save it by clicking here, obviously. Any generated reports will be here for you to download if you wish to see historic reports as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for reporting. Something that's also worth noting while we're at it and talking about reports is that we do have Google Data Studio integration. If that's something that you find perhaps if you run an agency, you use that. Well, we have it integrated into AccuRanker, so definitely something that some people will find a lot of use for. And with that being said, this is the end of the tour. If you have any questions regarding using AccuRanker, obviously I didn't touch upon every single feature that we have, but if you have any questions for us, feel free to ask us here by using the chat here. You can also go to our help center, which I will link to in the description, if you want to find information for yourself. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you'll get the most out of AccuRanker now, and yeah, talk to you later.